I've been doing this 45 years, so I feel like Lee Trevino and Daniel here. Hopefully Hunter and I have a few years to play, but it's been a treat, PNC. That's why when you watch all those years I've watched and everyone walks off the green, they thank PNC.
Fred Couples just called out Brooks Koepka in the most explosive way possible, and Phil Mickelson fired back, calling it a low-class jerk move. This is the story of how golf's most laid-back legend became its most ruthless critic. What could push someone known as Boom Boom, famous for his effortless swing and relaxed demeanor, to burn bridges with some of golf's biggest names? The answer reveals a war that goes far deeper than money or contracts. It's about loyalty, legacy, and 4 golfers who crossed a line that Fred Couples will never forgive. Before we dive into the chaos, make sure you're subscribed and drop a comment telling me which of these feuds shocked you the most. Now let's get into it. 2025. Fred Couples sits down for a radio interview in Seattle and drops a bomb that sends shockwaves through professional golf. He tells the host he talks to Brooks Koepka all the time, and then he says it. Koepka really wants to come back to the PGA Tour. This isn't speculation. This is Couples claiming he has inside information from private conversations with one of LIV Golf's biggest stars. The implications are massive. If true, it means LIV's roster isn't as solid as they claim. False, it means Couples is actively trying to destabilize the rival league from the outside. Brooks Koepka responds, but not with a denial. Instead, he hides behind contract language. He says he has obligations to fulfill and doesn't know where he's going. Matters. He confirms that Fred texted him after the interview. He confirms they talk quite a bit. That detail gives Couples credibility. These two are actually communicating, which means Couples might be telling the truth about Koepka's feelings. Then Phil Mickelson enters the fight. He fires off a tweet calling Couples' comments a low-class jerk move. Mickelson argues that even if it's true, Couples is betraying Brooks by stealing his control of the timeline and narrative. If it's false, Couples is just spreading lies to damage LEV. Either way, Mickelson says it's unacceptable. The tweet gets deleted shortly after, but the damage is done. The feud between Couples and Mickelson, which had been simmering since 2022, just exploded into public view again. This moment in 2025 isn't the beginning of the story. It's the culmination of 3 years of rage, insults, and burned friendships. To understand how we got here, you need to understand who Fred Couples really is and why LIV Golf turned him into golf's angriest enforcer. Fred Couples is 66 years old. He's a World Golf Hall of Fame member and the 1992 Masters champion. For over 42 years, he has been part of the PGA Tour establishment. His entire identity is wrapped up in the institution. He represents what people call the old guard, the generation that built modern professional golf into what it is today. His career bridged the gap between legends like Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus in the Tiger Woods era. He was the cool guy, the relaxed champion, the one everyone liked. But when LIV Golf arrived in 2022 with Saudi money and guaranteed contracts, something inside Fred Couples snapped. He didn't just disagree with the business model. He took it as a personal betrayal of everything the PGA Tour represented. His anger is rooted in one core belief. Golf should be a meritocracy. You earn money by performing. You don't get paid millions just for showing up. Couples sees LIV as a distortion of competitive reality. He's called the whole thing weird. He said that for 50 years, golf has been changed by titans like Palmer, Nicklaus, and Woods. But the LIV Tour isn't changing a thing. By denying LIV the status of a legitimate change agent, Couples reduces it to something parasitic. It's feeding off the fame that the PGA Tour created without contributing anything meaningful to the sport's history. This isn't just about protecting an institution, it's about protecting a way of life. Couples believes that loyalty to the PGA Tour is virtuous and that chasing guaranteed LIV money while trashing the tour on your way out is a moral failure. This binary worldview, where everything is either right or wrong, loyal or traitorous, is what drives every insult he's thrown for the past 3 years. Now here's the thing. Couples has the freedom to say what others can't. He's semi-retired, not worried about sponsorships or lawsuits or merger negotiations. He doesn't have to speak in corporate language like PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan or active stars like Rory McIlroy. He can be raw, unfiltered, and brutal. He's become the voice of the collective anger felt by PGA Tour loyalists who watch their peers abandon them for cash. When Couples speaks, he's articulating what many people think but can't say out loud. Brings us to the 4 golfers who bore the brunt of his wrath. Let's start with the most personal and painful destruction of them all, Mickelson. Phil Mickelson and Fred Couples were once close, served as vice captains together on Ryder Cup and President's Cup teams, shared locker rooms and strategy sessions. They were icons of American golf. Then LIV happened, and everything burned to the ground. The first crack appeared in July 2022. Right after Mickelson officially joined LIV. Couples watched Mickelson navigate press conferences where he tried to justify joining a Saudi-backed league while acknowledging human rights concerns. Mickelson looked uncomfortable, he looked strained, and Couples didn't offer sympathy. He offered contempt. In an interview, Couples asked a question that cut to the bone. Have you ever seen Phil look so stupid in his life? He followed it up by saying they know it's a joke. This was a brutal psychological attack. Couples wasn't just criticizing the decision. He was saying that even Phil, deep down, knows he made a mistake. He was projecting his own view of Eliv's illegitimacy onto Mickelson's internal thoughts. It stripped away any narrative of liberation or pioneering spirit. Instead, it painted Mickelson as a man who sold his dignity and knew it. Couples wasn't done. In early 2023, at a promotional breakfast for the Hog Classic on the PGA Tour Champions, he delivered his most memorable insult yet. He called Phil Mickelson a nutbag. He qualified it slightly, saying Mickelson is probably one of the 10 best players that ever played and that he still likes him. But the word nutbag stuck. It suggested that Mickelson's behavior was irrational, unstable, even mentally questionable. Then Couples went after the money. He pointed out that Liv gave Mickelson $200 million at age 52 to shoot 74 and 75. This wasn't just about performance, about economic irrationality. Couples was saying that no legitimate sporting organization would pay that kind of money for mediocre scores. It was a mockery of competitive seriousness. It reinforced his belief that LIV is paying for brands and fame, not actual golf talent. By mid-2022, Couples made it official. He said he likely wouldn't speak to Mickelson again. Not just a pause in communication, a permanent severing of ties. He told an outlet that he didn't think he would ever talk to Phil again. He asked, "What for?" He said they're not in the same boat anymore and probably won't ever play golf together again. Then he used a metaphor that perfectly captured his worldview. We're just in different orbits. That phrase is critical. Couples isn't saying they had a disagreement. He's saying they now exist in fundamentally different realities. He inhabits a reality of legacy, tradition, and earned respect. Mickelson inhabits a reality of guaranteed payouts and exhibition golf. In Couples' mind, those two realities can never intersect again. The 2025 Koepka incident brought all of this rage back to the surface. When Mickelson fired back with the low-class jerk move comment, he was defending not just Brooks but the entire LIV project. He was defending his own decision. Couples' willingness to publicly claim that Koepka wants out was a direct attack on the narrative that LIV players are happy and committed. Mickelson saw it as sabotage. Couples saw it as truth-telling. The friendship is over, the bridge is burned, neither man seems interested in rebuilding it. Next up is Sergio Garcia, and this conflict is less tragic and more annoying for Couples. If Mickelson is the fallen brother, Garcia is the ungrateful complainer. Couples called Sergio Garcia a clown. Trigger wasn't just that Garcia left for LIV, it was that Garcia vocally criticized the PGA Tour on his way out. He trashed the institution that made him a star. Couples has been part of the PGA Tour for 42 years. He told players to stop blasting something he's been part of for over 4 decades. In his ethical framework, leaving is your right. Crashing the tour on your way out is a moral violation. He said, go do what you're doing, but stop attacking the house that Palmer, Nicklaus, and Woods built. The word clown is deliberate. It suggests Garcia's grievances are performative and not worthy of being taken seriously. It's pure dismissal. Garcia responded with restraint. He said it's disappointing and he doesn't know where Couples is going with this. His life is his life and Couples' life is his life. But this defense missed the point. Couples wasn't complaining about leaving. He was complaining about trashing the tour while leaving. The tension peaked at the 2023 Masters Champions dinner, both attended as past champions. Garcia said he earned his spot and whoever feels awkward can deal with it, but the dynamic was forever changed. The green jacket used to unify everyone. Couples' insults ensured that LIV players had to confront reality. Some peers only tolerated their presence because of tradition, not friendship. Now we get to Brooks Koepka, and this is where things get complicated. Couples doesn't hate Koepka. In fact, he said multiple times that he loves Brooks. But Koepka has become a weapon in Couples' proxy war against LIV. In that March 2025 radio interview, Couples didn't just say Koepka wants to return. He framed it strategically. By claiming that one of LIV's most high-profile and competitive players is unhappy, Couples undermined the entire narrative of LIV stability. He portrayed the league not as a permanent destination, but as a temporary exile for players who miss the prestige of the PGA Tour. Couples emphasized his affection for Koepka. He said, I love Brooks Koepka. This creates a distinction. Koepka is the good LIV player who made a mistake, as opposed to the bad LIV players like Mickelson and Garcia, who are destroying the game. By separating Koepka from the clowns and nutbags, Couples turns him into a wedge issue inside LIV. He's saying, look, even your best guys want out. Brooks responded with ambiguity. He didn't deny it. He just said he has contract obligations to fulfill and doesn't know where he's going. But the key detail is that he confirmed communication with Couples. He said Fred texted him after the interview and that they talked quite a bit. That lends weight to Couples' claims. If they really are speaking all the time, Couples' reading of Koepka's dissatisfaction might be accurate. Koepka also focused on majors rather than defending LIV. He said his goal is to play better in the majors. That's telling. It suggests his priorities lie outside the LIV ecosystem. There's also the Vegas match incident. Couples was asked about an exhibition featuring Rory McIlroy and Scottie Scheffler against Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. He admitted he forgot it was even on and only tuned in because his wife saw a photo on social media. His critique was aesthetic. He said it was pitch dark and freezing, the players were wearing parkas and looked miserable, and the whole thing was just weird. By calling it weird, Couples denied the event any gravitas. Even when LIV players engaged with PGA Tour players, he framed it not as reconciliation, but as a bizarre anomaly that failed to capture the magic of real competition. Couples doesn't hate Koepka personally, but he's using Koepka's name and their private conversations to sow doubt and discord inside LIV. That's why Mickelson was so angry. He saw it as tactical information warfare. Finally, we come to Greg Norman, and this is where Couples' hatred reaches its purest form. If the conflict with Mickelson is personal, and the conflict with Garcia is annoyance, the conflict with Norman is systemic, historical, and total. Couples delivered perhaps his most devastating line about Norman in August 2022. He said he has a funny feeling he knows where the lawsuits are coming from their leader, who no one's liked for 25 years. That statement references Norman's long history of trying to create a world tour in the 1990s. Those efforts were blocked by the PGA Tour establishment, and Couples was part of that establishment. He views the current LIV conflict as Norman's personal vendetta, resumption of a war he lost decades ago. Couples made it clear that Norman is not his friend and never would be, because they don't get along. Couples bifurcates his criticism, insults the players for their specific actions. He reserves the title of villain for Norman, explicitly stated that while he's taken shots at the players suing the tour, he believes the real animus originates from Norman. He mocked Norman by saying he's running a tour that he thinks is incredible, suggesting Norman is deluded about the quality of his own product. This distinction allows Couples to maintain some empathy for peers like Koepka, even acknowledge Mickelson's skill while focusing his total rejection on Norman. He views the players as mercenaries led astray by a leader seeking personal revenge. Feud extended into petty territory in April 2024. Greg Norman Jr. complained on social media that his father had to buy a secondary market ticket to attend the Masters because Augusta National denied him a professional credential. Couples saw an opportunity and seized it. He tweeted sarcastically, asking why none of the 13 LIV players in the Masters field could get Norman a ticket. He offered to help next year if the Shark needed one. This was public humiliation. It highlighted Norman's isolation. Even the players he paid hundreds of millions couldn't or wouldn't secure his entry into the sport's most prestigious event. Reminded everyone that while Norman has money, he lacks access. He's an outsider looking in, gatecrasher at the events that truly matter. Couples blames Norman for the lawsuits, the chaos, and the division in golf. He frames LIV not as a business venture, but as Norman's personal revenge tour against the PGA Tour that rejected him decades ago. And he refuses to give Norman any legitimacy whatsoever. There's one more player worth mentioning. Cameron Smith gave a lifestyle excuse for joining LIV. He wanted more time in Australia, to attend weddings, to be present for birthdays. Couples found this comical. To dismantle it, he invoked Jack Nicklaus. He said Jack had 5 kids and 40 grandkids and never missed anything while dominating the PGA Tour. By comparing Smith to Nicklaus, Couples suggested the lifestyle argument was a cover for laziness or greed. True champions manage both family and competition. Couples was also dismissive of Smith's achievements, initially referring to him as just the guy who won the Players' Championship and British Open, emphasizing that his success came from the tour's platform. So where does all this leave us? As merger talks between the PGA Tour and LIV continue, speculation grows about how defectors might return. Couples has adopted a hardline stance. He questions the fairness of bringing LIV players back into the new signature events, which have limited fields and massive purses. He posed a hypothetical. If the field is 70 players and you bring back 7 LIV stars, 7 loyal PGA Tour players lose their spots. What do you tell those other 7? Couples answered his own question sarcastically. Bye-bye. This comment reflects his concern for rank-and-file tour members who stayed loyal. He praises players like Will Zalatoris, who reportedly turned down $130 million as the moral center of the sport. He's saying their loyalty should be rewarded, not punished by the return of defectors. Even if a financial merger happens, Couples will remain a vocal opponent of any pathway that disadvantages loyalists. He's not interested in reconciliation. He's interested in justice for those who stayed. Fred Couples is not a diplomat. He's a combatant. He has burned bridges with Phil Mickelson, delegitimized Sergio Garcia, weaponized his relationship with Brooks Koepka, and declared total war on Greg Norman. His conflict with LIV Golf is uncompromising and absolute. In an era where everyone speaks in corporate language and legal caution, Couples provides the raw, unfiltered voice of the establishment's anger. He articulates what many people think but can't say. He's become the enforcer of social norms within elite golf, using shame and ridicule to police the boundaries of acceptable behavior. The 4 golfers he targeted represent different aspects of his rage. Mickelson is the fallen friend who chose money over loyalty. Garcia is the ungrateful complainer who trashed the institution that made him. Koepka is the misplaced talent trapped in a bad situation. And Norman is the vindictive architect of chaos seeking revenge for failures decades old. But through all the insults and fury, Couples' message is consistent. The PGA Tour represents meritocracy, legacy, and tradition. LIV represents guaranteed money, exhibition golf, and betrayal. And in his world, there is no middle ground. What started as Boom Boom, the relaxed champion with the effortless swing, has transformed into golf's harshest critic, its most ruthless truth-teller, and the man willing to say what others won't. The schism he's created feels irreversible. These relationships are not paused, they're over. Fred Couples has made his choice. He's chosen the PGA Tour, he's chosen loyalty, and he's chosen to never forgive the 4 golfers who, in his eyes, betrayed the game he loves. Whether you agree with him or not, one thing is certain. When Fred Couples speaks, he means every word. He's not done talking yet. Let me know in the comments which of these feuds you think went too far. Was Couples right to call out these players, or did he cross a line? Drop your thoughts below and I'll see you in the next one.